Hello and welcome to another video from fantasyfootballscout.co.uk. Today I'm joined by David to look over the best captaincy options for game week 5. David, welcome.
Yeah, hi, it's good to be back after that international break. I'm glad we're finally back doing the important stuff.
Yes, and chief among them is getting the captaincy right in game week 5. For me, I think it's all about Aguero. I just look at that fixture, home against Fulham. Looks a no-brainer for me, but what do you think? Definitely Aguero top option, or any issues about that?
Yeah, I mean the Man City game is the go-to fixture when you look at that fixture list, and the first one you see for game week 5 is Spurs against Liverpool. That obviously pulls away a lot of the people usually involved. So Harry Kane's usually highly captained, but people will probably move away. Bearing in mind Liverpool have been good defensively this year. Salah and Mane have been popular as well, but again, a lot of people tend to stick away from them big games. And of course, there could be rotation from both of those teams because they've got Champions League coming up. The Man City game is the go-to. Aguero has started every game so far, so I feel like he's probably fairly assured to start again. But there is just that little thing at the back of my mind that does worry me about Aguero because I've just mentioned there, Spurs and Liverpool could be rotating for their Champions League games that come up a few days after, but Man City have got one as well. So that does worry me a little bit because Pep could easily bench Aguero and keep him fresh for that game against Lyon. I don't know. We might have to see later in the week. Nothing has really we haven't really got anything to say that he would be rotated at this stage. But of course, the data for game weeks 1 through 4 hasn't been with an eye on the Champions League. So we'll have to see really. But at the moment, definitely the front runner. I mean, you look at his numbers from the first couple of games. Like no forwards had more shots than him. And of course, looking at the big chances that Fulham have conceded, I think we all looked at that Newcastle game and thought this is going to be a bloodbath, sort of forgetting that Benitez is a manager who knows how to set a team up to defend and what have you. But Fulham have got problems all at the back at the moment. So
yeah, I mean, as I said, looking at the big chances conceded table, Fulham are there at 12 at the top. So it's Huddersfield and West Ham and Fulham. They're the whipping boys really at the moment in terms of defence. Aguero's been rested as well, which is nice. Not been picked for international duty. Jesus as well has been rested. So that's
the thing. They've both been rested. So I think
that's a bit annoying. Yeah. I think what's going to happen, we're going to have a similar situation with the Guardian Gate. I think we're going to start to get some rumours. I think we're going to get people saying that he could be rested. I'm going to ignore everything this week. I learnt my lesson last time. I'm just going to assume he's going to start because I think he's the best option as well. But there are other good options as well this week. So, having a look at the latest in our captain poll, there's Aguero there top. The poll's only been open for about an hour or so. So, he's walking it so far. I suspect that's going to stay the case. But there he is at number 2, Hazard. So Chelsea have a great game, home game against Cardiff. Hazard, you would assume, is nailed on, especially in the Europa League, I don't think they're going to be against anyone they're going to be too worried about. But yeah, what's your thoughts on Hazard? What's the kind of situation with fixtures and Chelsea? And why is Hazard potentially a good option?
Yeah, Hazard he's one of the players who I don't own, who I'm most worried about right now because he's one of these players who's been performing in lots of different ways so far. So he's doing well for shots. So he's third for chances created amongst midfielders, and he's still in the top 6 for shots as well. So he's one of these players who can just deliver any kind of return. And then in a fixture against Cardiff at home, that just feels like a routine 3 or 4-0 win for Chelsea for me. And then that's the advantage that Hazard is going to have over your Salahs, your Manes, your Kane, Aguero. Is that he doesn't have that Champions League match on the Wednesday. He's got the Europa League match against PAOK in Thessaloniki in Greece, which just kind of eases that. Sarri isn't going to have to rotate him to then have him for that match because, to be honest, he probably doesn't need him for that match. That's going to be a game we can probably roll out the B team and then probably still win. In a way that Europa League game, if he does play, may probably affect game week 6 more than it does game week 5. So that's definitely an advantage he has. There's basically no reason not to captain Hazard this week. Whereas I think as the people we've sort of already covered, there is a slight doubt over Aguero. It's nothing big at the moment, and of course that may change later in the week. But just looking at Hazard, there seems to be no reason not to captain him if you've got him. There's no con if you're doing a pros and cons.
I can also imagine the temptation with Hazard. Aguero is so heavily owned. Hazard in comparison isn't as well owned. I can definitely see the temptation. It's a risk, but it's if you're assuming that Aguero for some reason may be rested or somehow won't score against that really awful Fulham defence. Yeah. I guess Hazard would be the kind of go-to option for those seeking a differential. Not for me. I'm a dull manager, so not for me. But yeah, I can definitely see the attraction there. Also, the differential option could be a defender. Could this be a good week to captain a defender, David?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, when we've looking at the issues that we've mentioned about some of the big hitters and their rotation threat. I feel like Alonso and Mendy are obviously going to be the two that stand out because I wouldn't want to be captaining Robertson away at Spurs. If you're looking at your big premium defenders, Alonso and Mendy stand out because I think Alonso's got the best chance of a clean sheet. I think Mendy's got the best chance of some attacking returns. But obviously the key thing in both situations is that I just don't feel rotation risk for either of them. Obviously they've both been involved in the international break and they've both got games to come. Obviously we're recording this on Monday. So that may change, of course. They may get injuries in those international games. But the competition for their places I don't think is particularly strong. So at Man City, I can't see Delfor Zinchenko taking Mendy's place away. And at Chelsea, I can't see Emerson Palmieri taking Alonso's place away. So they feel about as nailed on as they're going to get. Which, if you say, for example, you say you don't have Hazard, which a lot of people, that's the case. I mean, I'm one of those people. And you are worried about Aguero, but you still fancy that Fulham game. Then Mendy feels like a good shout, to be honest. And the same with Alonso. If you're not so sure about Man City defensively, because of course Mitrovic is in good form, then Alonso. I mean, we've done some research on him in the last week or so. He's offering better value than he has done in a very long time. So we feel like he could get some attacking returns, but he's got that chance of a clean sheet. Either of those two look very good, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at the total score statistics and the top five. Alonso there, 44 points, he's top, and then Mane, the sole midfielder, the sole non-defender in that top five. And then you got Holebas, Robertson and Mendy, there they are. That's the top five scorers so far this season. I think you're right. I think they're a good shout. I mean, there is an old adage, never to captain a defender, or was that specifically never captain Leighton Baines? But it's along those lines.
I get that, but I just think we've said it many times this year, haven't we? That the role of an FPL defender is changing. Yeah. And when you look at the average position of Mendy and Alonso, they're basically midfielders. So if you had that. If you've got those two types of players delivering regularly as a midfielder, you don't worry so much about captaining them. So why would you worry about them just because they stand the chance of getting clean sheet points? With these types of players, I don't think that adage applies to them.
No, and I also think fantasy managers have to adapt, and those that perhaps adapted and said, no, look, I'm going to captain Alonso every week, well, they'll be laughing because they're going to be doing exceptionally well this season. There's a few players that haven't really been mentioned a lot on these chats we've been having about captaincy, in particular Romelu Lukaku. On the face of it, away to Watford's not a bad fixture. Lukaku's doing really well. I noticed that in terms of shots inside the box, considering he's only had 3 starts, he's actually second. It's only Callum Wilson has had more shots in the box than him. He's also doing really well. 8 shots on target as well. So Aguero's had 6. What about Lukaku? Could he be an option?
Yeah, I mean, it felt really strange. I did an article on him last week, and the numbers were great. And I was just thinking, the data on this article is really good. But at the back of my mind the whole time is like, but it's Man United and it's Lukaku, and because they've gone on so much under the radar, you sort of second guess whether or not he's an option worth considering. But I think he is. I mean, we always, at Fantasy Football Scout, love to tout what's in the numbers. And like you say, the numbers are telling us a really encouraging story for Lukaku. When you look at, minutes per shots inside the box, he's ahead of Wilson, obviously, because he's played less minutes. It kind of comes back to something I said a few weeks ago when I dropped the Jesse Lingard poll on you. That Man United are actually playing quite attacking football, and Mourinho is right to defend that, I think, in a press conference when he's being slated for the style of play. So, Watford have only kept 1 clean sheet so far. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go get him. I think he's not the kind of player that I want to damage my team structure for. But if people have got him, which some do, Man United options are always fairly highly owned. We're talking about rotation again with the Champions League coming up. Last season showed us that Lukaku was just that guy that played every week, and that's got to be to his credit, because we can't say that about Aguero, we can't say it about some of the other Man City options, and with Klopp saying that he's going to rotate at Liverpool as well, Lukaku looks like one of the last few remaining sort of top six side strikers who we know is going to play every week. So I think that's got to be to his credit, and you've got to consider him if you own him.
Okay, and just finally, really, often we mention Harry Kane, often we mention Mo Salah, and we've just mentioned Sadio Mane. They're doing exceptionally well. So Spurs against Liverpool. Both sides. Harry Kane has done well against Liverpool. Did last season, scored, and so did Salah. Are they options, or is that just one of those cases of it's just too tough to call, so let's not bother?
I mean, that's the way I'm inclined to go. But of course, as you've mentioned many times in a lot of the videos we've done, sometimes it can be a mistake to avoid a game like that, because I think we're all in agreement that Spurs defensively don't look particularly good. So I think expecting Liverpool not to score would be a bad decision to make. I think we've all got to agree that Liverpool will score in that game. So I think Mane and Salah they should be considered more than the Spurs options, because obviously the changing dynamic from this particular matchup from 12 months ago. 12 months ago, Liverpool were the side that were just horrendous at the back, and they got absolutely ripped to shreds at Wembley. Whereas 12 months later, they've got the best defensive record in the league. They just look so assured with Van Dijk at the back. So I'd probably steer clear of the Spurs guys, because I really like that Liverpool defence. But yeah, I think overlooking Mane and Salah could be a mistake, but yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, I think what it comes down to, if we're sort of bringing it back to Aguero, really, like if we get this hint that he's not going to play on something that stands up, like not just a journalist kind of making something up. If we get this idea that he's not going to play, then I'll probably be more inclined to go with Salah. But again, we've just got to see what Klopp says too, because that rotation could also affect Mane and Salah. So there's a lot up in the air, unfortunately. That's the problem sometimes when we record it so early in the week, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I bring that up is because last time I defaulted back to Salah after getting the jitters about Aguero, and I'm determined this time not to. But it's kind of nice to know there's a fullback there in him. Harry Kane does worry me slightly. He's doing okay with the numbers, isn't he? So shots in the box is 10 compared to Aguero 12, but goal attempts 10. I mean, that's good, but it's Aguero's 20.
Yeah, exactly. It's behind Aguero, but it's also behind last season's version of Kane. So is he still worth the same amount of money to have in your team? I don't think he is.
Yeah, I mean, I need to see Kane more. So that's just about the captaincy as well as owning as well. But for now, we've got some good options there. Could be Aguero. Could be a no-brainer there, but maybe the doubts will creep in. But for now, David, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Amy.